All right, we are live, ladies and germs. And, man, yet another week where we have a race where it's kind of hard to dissect what the hell happened. And it's also a race that's going to cause quite a bit of division amongst the NASCAR fan base. And all right, Mama Sissy. She likes to speak a lot. But tonight we're going to be reviewing the EchoPark Automotive Texas Grand Prix from the Circuit of the Americas, first road course race of the year. So it should be interesting. So saddle up, lock and load, everybody. First road course review of the year. This is the Fuel. What's happening, ladies and germs? This is the Packer Man. Welcome to tonight's edition of the Fuel. Where tonight we're going to be reviewing the EchoPark Automotive Texas Grand Prix from the Circuit of the Americas. Where do we even begin with this? The first half of the race was clean for the most part, zero cautions, and then, as per the usual, I don't know what it is with NASCAR races these days, but it always seems like the third and final stage of the race is always a fucking shit fest. Because we had yet another race that had very few cautions for the first two stages, and then the third stage, it's just yellow flag, yellow flag, yellow flag, yellow flag, yellow flag. And it just makes races seem a lot longer than they should be. And we had yet another case of that here tonight. Well, today, I should say. So that was a little bit frustrating. Not to mention the fact that some of the racing was, It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't exactly mind-blowing either. And of course we had another race that ended with yet another short run to the finish. We had another green-white checker to end the race. The longest green flag run we've had to end a race so far this season has been 13 laps, and that was at Atlanta. That's going to change in real soon, because I'm getting a little sick and tired of that shit. What? Come on. This is one of the new little ones that you keep hearing on camera during my live streams. What you want, orange one? Yeah, you can even hear him purring. He's a silly little shit. But anyways, yeah, it just feels like that the runs to the finish just seems like they always have some type of caution flag, and it's really irritating to say the least. At least the finish was pretty crazy, to say the least. We had 3 cars fighting it out for the win. A crazy way to end the race, and a first-time winner, our third of the season in 6 races so far. And right, orange one. But yeah, not really much to talk about. Not really much to rant about, really. I mean, it was just a so-so race. I mean, it was okay for the most part. It got really, really long in the third stage when all those cautions started coming out. Some of them for stupid reasons. But, it is what it is. You'll just have that sometimes. But before we get to reviewing the race, let's do our News of the Week segment. So, not a whole lot of news this week. I got the little one on my arm now, and it's chilling. Still don't know if it's a boy or a girl or not. But anyways, so not a whole hell of a lot of news this week. But one of the news headlines was pretty big, and we'll get to that in a second. But first headline, of course, this is what we're probably always going to start with now. The viewership. Atlanta. You would think for a super speedway race, quote unquote, would bring in a lot of viewership, but it only brought in just over 4 million viewers, which was just slightly more than Phoenix. Which is interesting to say the least, not to mention a little bit concerning. You would think, as popular as super speedway racing is, quote unquote, you would think that it would have gotten a lot more viewership, especially when you consider the fact that after practice, live ticket sales skyrocketed. So, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense as to why there wasn't more viewers than there were. I mean, I would have expected around 4.5 to 5 million, but instead it was just around 4 million, just a shade over 4 million viewers. By comparison, Formula One got 1.3 million viewers, and IndyCar just a shade under 1 million. So IndyCar is doing pretty good. I remember just a few years ago they were struggling to stay above 500,000, but now that they're on the big network, if I can speak. Now that they're on the big network of NBC, they're starting to get some pretty good viewership. Just under 1 million viewers for the St. Petersburg Grand Prix last week, so that's pretty good. F1 nearly matched NASCAR in the 18 to 49 demographic. They earned 656,000 viewers, while NASCAR had 716,000 viewers. But regardless, I think NASCAR was the most watched sports program of the entire weekend, which hasn't been that much of a surprise, really. So it's been kind of, on average, it's been hovering around 4 to 4.5 million viewers on average. So that's pretty good. But here was the big news of the week. The number 6 Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing Team, driven by Brad Keselowski, penalized 100 points for a modified vendor part. So, one second, let's go to Twitter real quick. Bob Pockrass tweeted out, big penalty. Brad Keselowski docked 100 points and 10 playoff points, which means that he has minus 10 playoff points at the moment. And crew chief Matt McCall is suspended for 4 races for modifying a part from a vendor. Also 100 owner points. Now let's not forget the new point system. The maximum number of points that you can earn in a NASCAR race, not counting the Coca-Cola 600, which has 4 stages as opposed to 3, is 60 points. You get 10 points for each stage win and 40 points for a race win. So that's 60 total points. So basically they lost almost a race and a half's worth of points in one fell swoop. And Bob Pockrass also says, from people I've talked to, the issue on the Brad Keselowski car had to do with the body at the rear of the car. So, it could have been a fender, it could have been something underneath the car. They haven't gone into detail. So, let's go to NASCAR.com real quick, because this is on their website. So, RFK Racing, number 16, penalized 100 points, fined $100,000. NASCAR officials issued a L2 level penalty to the number 6 Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing Team on Thursday morning penalizing the team 100 driver points and 100 owner points to significantly impact its path to the postseason. The penalty came under sections 14.1 and 14.5 in the NASCAR rulebook, both of which pertain to the modification of a single source supplied part, aka a vendor supplied part. Bear in mind, this was one of the cars that was actually sent to the R&D center after Atlanta last week. So that's interesting. In addition to the points penalties, crew chief Matt McCall was fined $100,000 and suspended from the next 4 NASCAR Cup Series points races. Should the number 6 team of Brad Keselowski qualify for the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, that would be penalized with the loss of 10 NASCAR playoff points. So this was the first points penalty of the new season, and it's a massive one. I heard someone say that under the old Winston Cup format, the equivalent would have been like something like 325 points or something like that, which is massive. So, Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing announced Friday afternoon via a statement that the team will appeal the penalty. In connection to the penalties announced yesterday by NASCAR, we have filed a notice of appeal and look forward to the opportunity to work through the process. Prior to Sunday's race at Atlanta, Keselowski's number 6 car was sent to the rear of the field for unapproved adjustments. The violations announced Thursday morning were discovered during teardown inspection at NASCAR R&D Center following the race weekend. The 100-point penalty will take Keselowski from 16th in the point standings with 122 points to 35th behind every full-time driver in the field. And of course, NASCAR officials released a more stringent penalty structure from the 2022 Cup Series season in January, including a list of deterrence options on a 3-tiered system from L1 to L3. Penalty options for an L2 infraction include points deductions, 75 to 120 points. In this case, they they penalized the 16 100 points. Playoff points deductions 10 to 25. They penalized them 10 points. Suspension of 1 to 2 crew members for 4 to 6 races, and fines ranging from $100,000 to $250,000. So, yeah, so a pretty big points penalty for RFK Racing, to say the least. And here is Roush Fenway Racing, their statement on it. In a connection to the penalties announced yesterday by NASCAR, we have filed a notice of appeal and look forward to the opportunity to work through the process. And this, of course, was posted on their official Twitter page on March the 25th, which was 2 days ago. So, yeah, pretty big deal. Of course, they're going to go through the appeals process. And, of course, they got, I think, 2 appeals that they can do. One to the NASCAR panel and then to a final appeals officer. Will these penalties be overturned? I'm not sure. But this is a pretty big penalty, and it pretty much puts Brad Keselowski and the 6 team behind the 8 ball, as if they weren't already. But now they're really behind the 8 ball, because they're basically going to have to win a race somehow and also get inside the top 30 in driver points in order to qualify for the playoff. Because if you get a race win, you also have to be in the top 30 to qualify, which he's not now, considering that he dropped to 35th after this points penalty, which is a massive penalty. But that's what's going on in the news this week. Pretty big penalty for the 6 team. Don't know if they're going to recover, but I guess we're going to find out. But this little shit is falling asleep. He's going to sleep. But that's it for the news of the week. So let's go ahead and get into as a review after I move a little shit off my arm. I forgot to X those out. 1 second. I know. Going over there. I got a review to do. Ooh. Pop. Alright, so let me get my notes ready here. Got wires everywhere. Alright, so the name of the episode is Watermelon Man, which I hope is for obvious reasons. Man, look at my freaking hair. I need to get a haircut soon. I'll probably get one in April, because it is starting to get a little wee bit long. But, what else was I going to do? Shit, I forgot what I was going to do. Oh, yeah. Give me 1 second here. Like and subscribe. So the EchoPark Automotive Texas Grand Prix from the Circuit of the Americas. So stages broke down as such. Stages 1 and 2 were 15 laps, with stage 3 being 38 laps, making up a 68 lap race. So not a whole lot of opportunity for lead changes. So if we even got a fraction of what we saw in Atlanta, it would be solid. There were 8 cars that had to go to the rear of the field for various reasons. The 15 of Joey Hand, a road course ringer. The 16 of AJ Allmendinger, a road course ringer. 34 of Michael McDowell, the 43 of Eric Jones, the 66 of Boris Said, road course ringer. And the 77 of Josh Balicki all had to go to the rear of the field due to unapproved adjustments. The number 78 of Andy Lally had 3 tech inspection failures and also had to do a pass-through, but which was kind of irrelevant because his car was basically out due to mechanical problems. And Loris Heisemans in the number 27 car also had to go to the rear of the field due to a Daytona engine change. So I'm guessing the 27 team hadn't been racing since Daytona, I guess. I'm not really sure. But that was in the penalty notes, so there you go. So, stage number 1 was 15 laps. Stages 1 and 2 were, pretty short. Not really a whole hell of a lot going on, and they also all went caution free, so there was that. It's probably attributed to them going by pretty quickly. So Ryan Blaney starts from the pole. Cars fan out heading into turn 1, which is up a 130-foot embankment, which is pretty crazy. It's a pretty steep climb. Suarez makes the move underneath of Blaney into turn 11 for the race lead, which is that sharp hairpin at the top of the track. So Suarez leads lap 1. Loris Heisemans cuts the corner in the S's, basically cut off the S's, which you're not allowed to do. You're not allowed to cut the course in 4, 5, and 6 specifically, if I can speak correctly, and had to do a pass-through. Boris Said also had to do it, and basically both of those guys did it twice during the race. So you would think, road course experts like those two would have fared a little bit better than they did. And unfortunately, that was not the case. Logano gets by Hamlin for 5th, and then teammate Cindric follows him through. Briscoe goes way wide in turn 12, but gets it back. Looked like he wheel hopped it for a second. Cindric gets by Logano for 4th. Blaney tries to close back in on Suarez for the race lead. Kyle Busch spins in turn 12, as he gets nudged by Chase Elliott. Not the first time Kyle Busch goes around in this race. Cindric gets by Reddick for 3rd in the stadium complex, and Bowman follows to get by Reddick for 4th. Most of the field comes in for green flag stops on lap 13, which is a couple laps before the end of the stage, because they closed pit road with 2 laps to go. And typically you want to do the opposite. You want to try to come in under green for pit stops on a road course, because most of the time you won't go a lap down because a road course lap is freaking long. Like Circuit of the Americas had a lap of almost 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So yeah, there you go. It's a long ass lap. Bowman gets by Cindric for 3rd. Several more near the front of the field comes into pit road before pit road closes. Both of the Dillon brothers got penalized for pit road penalties. Austin Dillon had an uncontrolled tire, and Ty Dillon had an equipment violation. So both of those guys would have to start from the rear of the field for the start of stage 2, and Daniel Suarez wins stage 1, and the drivers who didn't pit under the green pit under the stage break. So again, very short stage 1. Stage 2, kind of the same thing, just 15 laps. So Austin Cindric stays out. He pitted before the pits were closed. and leads the start of stage 2. Suarez gets spun in turn 1 and has a flat left rear tire from contact with LaJoie. They kind of went like 4 and 5 wide in turn 1, which they were doing pretty much every restart. And unfortunately, Suarez got the losing end of that deal. Larson spins in the S's. Don't know what the heck happened there. They didn't really show a good replay of it. Chastain and Cindric go side by side for the lead, but Cindric holds him off as there's a car roaring its engine outside my freaking home. Reddick and Chastain battle for second, with Reddick winning the battle, but Chastain then comes back and retakes second going into turn 1. So there were some good battles like that. Reddick and Chastain going through quite a few battles this season. Of course, they had that great race at Phoenix not too long ago, along with Chase Briscoe. So there's that. Allmendinger gets by Cole Custer for 5th in the stadium complex, then by Hamlin for 4th. Michael McDowell gets penalized for cutting the course. Chastain challenges Cindric for the lead as Allmendinger moves up to 3rd. Much like in stage 1, a larger group of cars pit on lap 28, 3 laps before the end of the stage, which is typical. Chastain gets by Cindric in the stadium complex for the lead, and then they both pit at the exact same time, which is pretty interesting, as a lot of cars inside the top 10 also come to pit road. William Byron gets caught speeding on pit road, so that pretty much completely blows his strategy. Denny Hamlin stays out because he actually needs the stage points because he's been sucking so much ass this year. Some of it not of his own doing, some of it is. And he wins stage number 2. So there you go. He didn't really have a very good finish in this race either because he got spun out later in the race. Everyone who didn't pit under green comes in under the stage break, much like we saw in stage number 2, or in stage number 1. So pretty clean so far for the most part. No caution flags or anything of that nature. First 30 laps. Then we get to stage number 3. 38 laps. And that's when things started going off the rails in terms of the caution flags. So Logano leads the start of stage 3. But then Logano completely blows turn 1. Looks like he locked the tires up. Got really loose, had to overcorrect, and basically had to swing it out wide in turn 1 into the runoff area. Ryan Blaney also didn't get a very good restart. See, locked the tires up coming out of the turn and slid wide. He fell back to 5th, and I think Logano fell back to 12th or something like that. And in all that mess, Chastain snags the lead, and he would pretty much be a fixture at the front for the remainder of the race. Christopher Bell and Chase Briscoe battle for 6th. Of course, those two have had their battles in the Xfinity Series last couple years before they made their move to the Cup Series. Joey Hand spins in turn 1, gets it back going again after getting hit by Almirola in the S's. In turn 1, excuse me. Cindric gets loose and spins in turn 10. They thought that he might have gotten hit from behind, but according to the camera, he just got loose, which was similar to what happened to Ryan Blaney in practice, apparently. And then NASCAR officials decided to throw the caution on lap 34 for debris. They never actually showed the debris. So I was like, seriously? The fuck was that about? Getting a little sick and tired of these phantom debris yellows. So Chastain leads on the restart because it's too damn early to pit. Pit window was like 24 to 27 laps, I think they said, for fuel. And they were nowhere near that yet. Briscoe with a great run into the S's and moves up to 3rd. Reddick starts challenging Briscoe for 3rd. Bell has to go to pit road with steering issues. More on him a little bit later. Elliott gets by Reddick for 3rd, but then we get our second caution on lap 41 when Eric Jones stops on the backstretch with some kind of mechanical issue. Everyone comes in for service at this point because it's right on the edge of the pit window, and Chastain wins the race off pit road. So Chastain leads on the restart. I think this was the final time they came to pit road. Or was it? Well, I'll say in a minute with the notes. Briscoe takes the lead in turn 11 as Logano spins. Chastain tries to come back at Briscoe through the stadium section, but then we get our third caution on lap 45 when Bubba Wallace loses the left rear wheel. Not the tire, the entire wheel, because in the replay you can see the lug fly off and then the tire came off as well. And it's like, whoopsie doodle. Yeah, some people are going to be taking a vacation for the next month or so for that one. Ouch. So Briscoe leads on the restart, but then Chastain muscles his way under Briscoe in turn 11 for the race lead. Elliott gets by Cindric for 7th. Kyle Busch gets by Reddick for 4th, and then Bowman gets by Reddick for 5th, so Kyle Busch had recovered nicely. Bowman gets by Kyle Busch for 4th, and then we have a battle between Reddick and Elliott for 6th. Ty Dillon spins in turn 11 off of Kez's front bumper. Elliott and Kyle Busch battle for the 5th position. Don't forget that Elliott kind of nudged Kyle Busch out of the way earlier in the race. Briscoe tries to put the pressure on Chastain for the race lead. Allmendinger gets by Briscoe for 2nd as Briscoe seemed to start bouncing all over the place in the S's. He started getting loose, and that allowed Allmendinger to get by. Then we have our 4th caution on lap 54 when Ricky Stenhouse rolls to a halt on the backstretch. Drive shaft failure on the 47 car. Several cars decide to pit, or actually ducked on the pit road before the caution came out and got fresh tires, although didn't really seem to make much of a difference. Some cars come in under caution for service as well, but a lot of them just couldn't make their way to the front. So track position was key in this race. So Chastain leads on the restart with 12 laps to go. Log jam at the front as Reddick moves up to 2nd. I mean, it was a log jam. And then Briscoe shortcuts the S's, which resulted in NASCAR penalizing him, but they said that he was actually forced off. We'll get to that in a minute. Kaz Grala and Austin Cindric gets spun in turn 11. It was basically like a calamity corner type of deal. And then we have our 5th caution on lap 58 when Corey LaJoie loses an engine on the front stretch. He does pull it off to prevent leaking fluid all the way around the racetrack. And then after it was reviewed, it was determined by NASCAR that Briscoe was actually forced off in the S's after contact with A.J. Allmendinger, and he actually lost spots because of that, because he slowed down. That section of course right there, in the red zone where you're not allowed to cut the course, it was actually really bumpy. He was doing this number going over the bumps, so he actually lost spots in that deal. And it was pretty obvious that he wasn't trying to shortcut the corner. He just got forced off. So NASCAR was like, okay, we'll rescind the penalty. And Briscoe was able to keep a spot, although he did come to pit road because he actually flat spotted his tires. So that was still a tough break either way. So even though NASCAR did the right thing by rescinding the penalty, it didn't really matter in the end because Briscoe had to pit anyway because he flat spotted his tires. So Chastain leads on the restart with 9 laps to go. Custer spins in turn 2 as Chastain aggressively defends the lead from Allmendinger, trying to run him wide. Hamlin spins in turn 11, so his shitty year continues. Reddick gets by Elliott for 3rd. Almirola spins in the stadium section. Didn't really see why that was. Bowman gets by Elliott for 4th. We're seeing a great cat and mouse battle between Chastain and Allmendinger for the race lead. But then we get our 6th caution on lap 62 when Loris Heisman's car stalls in the S's. So that results in a caution. Chastain leads on the restart with 3 laps to go. Once again, balls to the wall by everybody in turn 1, which results in Tyler Reddick actually getting the lead coming to the S's. But then we immediately get our 7th caution on lap 66 when Joey Logano, Kurt Busch, and Kyle Larson all hit the guardrail in turn 1. In Logano's case, it resulted in a broken toe link. The tire was doing this number all the way in, so yeah, it was not good. And like I said, Reddick managed to get the lead on the restart, so he would be in the lead for the overtime restart. But Chastain is able to power his way by both Reddick and Allmendinger. Allmendinger actually tried to make it 3 wide coming off of turn 1, but Chastain powers his way by both of them and actually had a pretty solid lead coming out of the S's going to turn 11 as Allmendinger and Reddick battled side by side. But Allmendinger was able to get the lead able to take 2nd into turn 11. Bowman starts challenging Reddick for 3rd and actually takes it. Kyle Busch gets spun on the last lap of the race. And then we come to the last lap where it looks like Chastain is going to be able to hold off Allmendinger. He has about a 2nd lead. But, and my stepfather who was watching with me was like, looks like Chastain's going to get him this one. I was like, I don't know. Allmendinger's a pretty damn good road racer, and he would prove me correct because he was about 3/4 of a second behind coming out of the S's, but then was right on his rear bumper coming out of turn 11 and into turn 12. He was right on his tail. And what I'm going to do in this case is we are going to watch that battle. We're going to watch it starting from turn 12 and into the stadium complex. So let's go to display, capture. NASCAR and NBC actually has this. So we see Chastain leading. Allmendinger is now right there. They're going through the stadium complex. And then right here, Allmendinger nudges Chastain out of the way at the left-hander to take over the race lead. And then here comes Alex Bowman trying to get in on this deal. And he actually nudges Chastain out of the way to take over the second spot as Chastain tries to nudge the 16 out of the way. Let's go back a little bit. And that allows Alex Bowman a shot at stealing another one. I've nicknamed him a sniper. But then coming here into turn 19, boom! Chastain hits the 16 car, sending him into the 48 car in turn 19. And that causes the 16 to get beached. And Chastain regains the lead coming out of the final turn to take the checkered flag. To win the EchoPark Automotive Texas Grand Prix at the Circuit of the Americas. And just immediately starts doing the donuts in turn 1. Yeah, let's go back and look at that one more time. So Bowman gets a great run through the carousel as Chastain tries to nudge the 16 out of the way right here. That allows Bowman to get by. And then Chastain nudges him again. Boom! Right into Bowman, which sends Bowman wide. The 16 gets spun into the kitty litter. That beaches him, and Chastain drives through to get his first career win. Now, here's where the divisive part is going to come in. A lot of people are probably going to say, well, you know, that was dirty what Chastain did. And, you know, I've always been an advocate for clean racing and all that good stuff. But here's the thing. Allmendinger kind of nudged him out of the way going into that sharp left-hander. So at that point, it's fair game. You know, Allmendinger was willing to nudge him out of the way to try to get the lead. So at that point, it's fair game. And of course, this allowed Bowman into the picture. And Chastain was back to third at that point. And it's like, no, I am not losing this fucking race like this. So that's why going into turn 19, he nudged the 16 probably a little harder than he probably wanted to. And it ended up pooching him right into the 48 car, spins the 16 out, and it sends the 48 car wide enough to allow Chastain to go through and take the race win. I mean, was it a bit rough? Yeah. But it's kind of like, I mean, a perfect example of fair game would be Chicagoland back in 2018. You know, slide job! You know, that deal. When Kyle Larson nudged Kyle Busch out of the way in turns 1 and 2 to try to take the race lead away. And what Kyle Busch do? He went barreling off into turn 3 and nudged Kyle Larson out of the way. That's fair game. Now, if this would have been a situation like we saw at Martinsville in 2018, where Martin Truex passed Joey Logano clean for the race lead, and then Logano punted Martin Truex on the last lap, if that would have been that case, then I would have slammed Chastain for that move. But that's not the case here. Allmendinger initiated the contact first. So at that point, if Chastain wanted to return the favor, it was fair play. Not like what happened at Martinsville 2018 when Joe Logano got passed clean and then decided to pooch Truex out of the way. That was bullshit. And the fact that Logano was celebrated for it made me even that much sicker. It's like, what the fuck? You know, and there are some people after this instance with Chastain pooching Allmendinger. It's like, oh, Ross Chastain's a dirty driver, was the weakest win ever. NASCAR fans are about the most hypocritical fuckfaces I've ever seen in my life. I'm sorry. But, I mean, you can't have one over the other, okay? What happened here was good, hard racing. And yeah, it got a little dirty, but here's the thing. Allmendinger pooched him out of the way first. Now, if Allmendinger would have passed Chastain clean, and then Chastain does that, then yeah, it was a dirty play. But that was not the case. Allmendinger initiated the contact to move him out of the way. So it was fair game at that point. Bowman was just there trying to snipe another win. Because he was right behind those two. And I honestly think he thought he was going to snipe another win away. And just like he did at Vegas earlier this year. And Chastain was like, fuck that. You're not taking this win away from me, buddy boy. So, yeah, and AJ after the race was like, you know, if you're comfortable with doing what you did, then you're comfortable with doing what you did. I mean, you did try to pooch him out of the way yourself, so. And then Bowman was like, yeah, I understand why he did it. I understand why AJ is upset, but I also understand why Chastain did what he did. You know? So congratulations to Chastain. Actually, let me check on one thing real quick. Have they completed tech inspection yet? NASCAR says no cars to R&D. Inspection is complete. Ross Chastain is officially the winner. No issues. So that was 30 minutes ago. So basically right before I started this live stream. So there you go. The win is now official. So congratulations to Ross Chastain, our first-time winner this year out of 6 races. Austin Cindric won the Daytona 500. Chase Briscoe won the race at Phoenix. And now Ross Chastain. And you had to know that Chastain was going to get a win sooner rather than later. His 3 races before today had finished as a 3rd, 2nd, and 2nd. So a win was right around the corner. And it's like I said last week, Trackhouse is for real. It is for real. And them hiring Chastain was probably the best thing they could have done, honestly. And this win today proves it. I mean, that one car has been on a roll. And I think Chastain has proven that, man, what a success story he is. I mean, I remember when he was in the Xfinity Series, and of course he had that magical win at Vegas, driving for Chip Ganassi's Xfinity team. And then he had that whole bollocks with DC Solar that caused Ganassi's Xfinity program to shut down, and unfortunately he had to release Chastain as a result. So Chastain had to bounce around for a while in the Truck Series and then back into the Xfinity Series. And now he's in the Cup Series driving for Trackhouse after he got, well, last year he was back in at Chip Ganassi Racing driving the 42 car. And now he's driving for Trackhouse. And not only was this Chastain's maiden NASCAR Cup Series victory, this was also Trackhouse's first victory. The number 1 car getting win number 1 for Ross Chastain and for Trackhouse. It's a feel-good story of the year. So let's go to our stats and awards. So this was a 68 lap race. We actually had 1 additional lap for overtime. So it was 69 laps. The dirty number. Stages broke down 15, 15, 38. We actually had a good number of lead changes. We had 13 overall lead changes, which for a 68 lap race is pretty good. Unfortunately, all of them were either due to pit stops or restarts, because we had 0 pure lead changes today. None whatsoever during green flag racing. We came close, but no pure lead changes in today's race, which, I mean, it's road course racing. It's to be expected. The fact that we got 13 overall lead changes is pretty good considering that we're at a road course. Unfortunately, we had 7 caution flags. After 2 stages, we had 0. And then all 7 caution flags happened in that 3rd and final stage. Never fucking fails. And we had 2,599 green flag passes, which actually translated to a 46.4 on average, which is pretty good. Lap leader award was Ross Chastain. He led 31 of the 69 total laps in the race. Star of the race. Now, you would think I would obviously give it to Ross Chastain, first career win. Led 31 laps, and of course had a great battle at the end with Allmendinger and Bowman. But I am actually going to give it to Christopher Bell. Why? Because that car was on pit road at the midway point of the race with mechanical issues. I think they said it was like steering problems or something like that. And Christopher Bell rebounds from that to finish third when they absolutely needed a good run. Now, of course, they're still 23rd in points, but this was still a much needed good run. And for him to recover from that mechanical hiccup to finish third is pretty damn impressive. So I'm going to give star of the race to Christopher Bell. Reject of the race. Stage 3. Stage 3. I mean, it made this race seem a lot longer than it should have. With 7 frickin' caution flags. I mean, shit. I mean, it turned what would have been probably a 2.5 hour race to like a 3.5 hour race, which is pretty damn long for a road course race. How long exactly was this race? Let's go to Racing Reference real quick and check this out. 3 hours, 20 minutes, 57 seconds. This race lasted probably an hour longer than it should have with all the damn caution flags in stage 3. Lord have mercy. But, you know, it is what it is. So, race results and point standings. Let's get to those. Race results. Your top 10 finishers for the Texas Grand Prix at Circuit of the Americas. Ross Chastain with the win. Led 31 laps. Alex Bowman nearly sniped himself another one. It ends up coming home second. Christopher Bell, as I said, comes home in third. So a great run for JGR, who actually needed a good run. Chase Elliott comes home in fourth, so the road course master comes home fourth. Was actually pretty dog meat the first part of the race, but comes back and salvages a nice top 5 run. Tyler Reddick, leading at the green-white checkered, comes home in fifth. Ryan Blaney, the pole sitter, had his share of problems, but comes home sixth. Martin Truex Jr., very quiet run, seventh. Cindric got spun twice. Led 11 total laps, comes home in 8th position, though. Eric Jones was stopped on the backstretch at one point. Recovers for a top 10 finish. And Austin Dillon had a penalty earlier in the race. Comes back for a top 10 finish. So, some guys having to overcome some pretty big problems in this race and come home with good results. So, great competitive spirit here today. And as usual, here are the NASCAR standings with F1 points. So with William Byron not gaining a single point this week in the F1 standings, Ross Chastain jumps all the way up into the F1 points lead. Oh shit, that reminds me. I forgot to do the regular point standings. Duh. So here are the regular point standings. Chase Elliott continues to lead the way with 208 points. Ryan Blaney is second with 195. Logano drops to third. Alex Bowman moves up to fourth. Ross Chastain moves up to fifth. So in the NASCAR points, Ross Chastain is fifth, but if it's F1 points, he's the point leader. Shows you how much of a difference different point systems make. William Byron drops to sixth. Truex is seventh. Eric Almirola eighth. Chase Briscoe ninth, and Tyler Reddick rounds out the top 10. Kyle Busch drops all the way to 11th after a 28th place finish. He got spun on the last lap. Austin Cindric, Kurt Busch, and Kevin Harvick are tied for 12th in points. Daniel Suarez, 15th. Kyle Larson, 16th in points. He's not had a good past couple of weeks, either due to crashes or mechanical failures. He has dropped all the way to 16th in points. He does have the one win, though. So Larson is still fine in that regard, at least for right now. Eric Jones is 17th. Austin Dillon, 18th. Chris Buescher, 19th. And Bubba Wallace rounds out the top 20 in the point standings. So now we go to the F1 standings. Chastain with 95 points overall. William Byron second. Kyle Larson in third. You have Ryan Blaney with 69 points. Alex Bowman now 5th with 67 points. Chase Briscoe in 6th. Tyler Reddick and Chase Elliott tied for 7th. Logano in 9th. And Daniel Suarez rounding out the top 10. And then the rest of the field, which now includes 32 drivers, because 2 drivers scored points in this system. You have Kyle Busch, Eric Jones, Eric Almirola, Martin Truex Jr., Kurt Busch, Austin Cindric, Bubba Wallace, Austin Dillon, Kevin Harvick, and Denny Hamlin in the top 20. And the rest of the field have scored points. Well, the 31 drivers have scored points. I'll get to that in a minute. You have Christopher Bell, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Corey LaJoie, Chris Buescher, Todd Gilliland, Michael McDowell, David Reagan, Cole Custer, Justin Haley, who scored points, Daniel Hemrick, and Harrison Burton, who also scored his first points this season in the F1 standings. Notice that Brad Keselowski has minus 51. And that's because the equivalent to the amount of NASCAR points that he had taken away from him, translated to F1 points, is 70 points under the F1 system. So that's why he has minus 51. Now, of course, they have appealed the penalty. So, if they end up getting that penalty rescinded or reduced, then that'll change. But for right now, he's in a deep, deep hole. And that is not the final rating. I keep forgetting to take that off. But as for my final rating, as we come to the fuel gauge, what a tough race to judge. Yet another tough race to judge. But, I mean, stages 1 and 2 were clean for the most part. I mean, there was some racing, but nothing that really knocked your socks off. But at least it was clean. We went through it quickly. Good number of lead changes for the race. 13 for a road course race is pretty good, even though we had 0 pure lead changes, which does knock it back a bit. That third stage was messy with all the caution flags, even though it seemed like it was mostly mechanical problems, which you can't really do much about. But then we had that finish, which was absolutely crazy. We got a first-time winner. It just sucks that we had to go to yet another overtime finish to get done. But, I mean, when you look at things, I mean, the good definitely outweighed the bad. So, while this wasn't the best road course race in the world, I am definitely going to give it a solid 6 on the fuel gauge. So, slightly above average. It wasn't anything that's to write home about, other than maybe the finish. But, I mean, for the most part, it was a solid race. It did go on a little bit too long, I feel, for a road course race. Usually a road course race of this length is usually about 2.5 hours, and it was about 3.5. So it went a little bit longer than it probably should have. Of course, maybe due to the 7 caution flags that we had in stage fucking 3. But, you know, it is what it is. But, it was still a solid road course race, so, and it had a pretty damn good finish. So, those are the pluses. So a 6 on the fuel gauge, I think, is fair. So, there you go. Phoenix still remains the only race that has not gotten above a 5. But it still got a 4, so it was still okay at some points. But for the most part, NASCAR racing this year has been pretty solid. I mean, from what I've heard, Formula One racing has really gotten its shit together as far as the on-track product. Because the first 2 races, from what I've heard, have been bangers. But I'm not covering F1 anymore, so it is what it is. But, yeah, I think NASCAR racing this year, for the most part, has been pretty solid. I think Phoenix has been the only thumbs down, and even that's just a little bit below average for that race. But that is going to do it for tonight's edition of The Fuel. We're 6 races in, so we're 1/6 the way through the 2022 season. 6 different winners. So it's looking a lot like we saw last year. A lot of parity. And we're seeing a lot of different teams competing. A lot of the powerhouse teams kind of struggling a little bit. Like Joe Gibbs Racing is struggling a little bit early this season. So that's pretty interesting. But we still got a long ways to go. We still got 30 races left before we crown a 2022 champion. So a long ways to go yet this season. But that's going to do it for tonight's edition of The Fuel. Next week, I believe, is at Richmond. So our first short track race of the season. We're going to have 3 straight short track races. We're going to have Richmond, and then Martinsville, and then Bristol Dirt. So look forward to that. But Thank you very much for watching this edition of The Fuel, and until next time, this is the Packer Man signing out. See you later. Thank you for watching tonight's video. Be sure to like and subscribe, you jackweeds.